And when it comes to that whiplash, going from one extreme to another, Sonoma County reservoirs tell the whole story. Our Wilson Walker gives us a look.
Well, we picked this ramp because my understanding was at least a week ago, Yorty Creek was closed because the parking lot was completely underwater.
If you wanted to measure California's change of water fortunes, the boat ramp at Lake Sonoma would be one place to do it. It's the scene of an incredible 4-month turnaround for the very water system where the drought officially started.
That the hots are getting a lot hotter in this state. The dries are getting a lot drier.
As you recall, 3 years ago, the governor literally was up in Lake Mendocino declaring the start of the drought, basically April 2021.
And things only got worse from there as storage dwindled and restrictions piled up.
From a water supply standpoint, our message is still, we're in a drought. We need to make the best use of every drop that we have.
Lake Sonoma would hit an all-time low in November of last year, with concern mounting over what another dry year might mean. And then it started raining.
It's remarkable.
In March, the Army Corps of Engineers started spilling water to make room for subsequent storms. And some drought lessons are already paying off. 10 years of research and planning has produced new control guidelines for many California reservoirs. The idea is to be more flexible and store more water for less rainy days, something they are already doing here.
And there's a significant amount of water they're actually holding back as a result of our improvements in storm predictions and atmospheric river research.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Lake Mendocino is also back to full water supply pool, a huge relief for this region and something a lot of people have to see for themselves.
Wow. I love it. We live in Santa Rosa, the fire danger, all that. I mean, we have to come up and take a look because we know it was going to be just a pleasant sight to see, and it is awesome.
Over the past 3 years, we kept hearing that one big winter could provide so much help for us, but given the deficits we were facing, it became increasingly difficult to wrap your mind around the idea of that happening. But here we are. It's a great example of what can happen in a land of extremes, and for Sonoma County and much of California, it's a water comeback that people will talk about for a long time.
This has been one of the snowiest seasons in the Sierra on record. And while that may sound like every skier's dream, at times, all that snow and the wind, it was too much for even the ski resorts to handle. Getting up to the mountains has also been a challenge this winter, with whiteout conditions at times. And even if you did make it up, navigating around the mountains, not easy, with roads surrounded by a wall of snow up to 30 feet high. Homes were buried, and in some cases, residents were stranded inside. And all of this creating quite a hazard, with some buildings even collapsing under the weight of all of that snow. But all of that snowfall is great news for our water supply. State officials just conducted their snow survey for this month. Oh, the Sierra Nevada, a Spanish name that means snowy mountain range, and this year was exceptionally snowy thanks to 17 atmospheric rivers that hit the state of California. Now, the latest snowstorm that swept through the Sierra pushed the statewide snowpack to record levels. Today's reading showed California's snowpack was 237% of average, which makes this the highest reading since the snow sensor network was even established. The melting Sierra snow provides anywhere between a third to half of California's water supply. It's often called the frozen reservoir because the Sierra's natural ability to store water. And in the spring, we start to see that snow actually melt. That water that doesn't get absorbed into the ground is called runoff, and it trickles into the mountain streams, which is then fed by rivers and reservoirs, where it's then stored for us to use throughout the dry season. What's more important is the timing of the snowpack melt. We want the runoff to be as late in the season as possible. This way, we can use it during the dry summer months. Now, once we turn off the faucet for the wet season, the new concern, it's going to be the warmer temperatures on the way that could rapidly melt that snowpack and cause flooding. The Department of Water Resources is tracking this, and they're keeping a very close eye to the spring runoff scenarios to ensure that the California water supply will benefit the most from this year's snowpack while still balancing the need for flood control. Even though this storm has dramatically helped the snowpack and the reservoirs too, I mean, look at these numbers. The groundwater basins take a lot longer to recover. Many Californian communities still experience water supply challenges, especially those who rely on groundwater supplies, which have been depleted due to drought. This is why we have to remember to still be conscious of how we use our water here in the Bay Area. By doing this now, we can help create a healthy environment and community as more shifts between wet and dry weather trends will continue in the years to come.
More to come.